Good evening, non-CCRA board members. I believe there are 3 of you. And welcome to Robert Schwartz, who's a community member, right, Robert? You're mute, so I can't tell.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and Adam, welcome. And Eric, welcome. By way of background, the civic design review process requires there to be a public meeting to review projects of a certain size, and this project is subject to civic design review. We had that meeting 3 weeks ago, and there were over 60 attendees, but through no one's fault, the neighbors were notified through the CCRA this week with several announcements, but I believe the project's attorney thought it would be prudent if people received individual notice. And so we're sort of doing a very abbreviated version of what we did before. And what I'm going to ask is that Eric Layton share his screen and put a couple of the building diagrams on and briefly describe the building's attributes, the design attributes and the parking attributes. And then, Robert, if there are questions, we'd be happy to entertain them. But the last meeting, which is recorded and is in our website, was well over an hour, and I don't think we need a full hour. And Robert, you can have as much time as you want to look at all this stuff and ask questions you may have about the building. So Eric, could you go ahead? And if that's okay with you, Robert, we'll let Eric, who is the project's architect, describe it. And then if you have questions, Robert, I'll just give you the floor and we can discuss them. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I'm just going to start here with this general view of the building. I think everybody who has seen this project so far is familiar with the corner of 19th Street going this way on the page and Chestnut Street going east-west on the page, and the beautiful historic Aldine Theater building that is currently home to, and has been for many years, to the CVS drugstore on that corner. And this project intends to restore those facades and then do an overbuild on top of them. It is a 46-story apartment building. The first 3 floors are, and I'll come back to this if anybody has questions. These are photographs of the existing condition, but again, I think everybody currently in attendance is familiar with this location. And again, here you can see it at the corner of 19th and Chestnut Street, about a half a block from Sansom Street. Rittenhouse Square is just off the right-hand side of the screen. And this is our first floor plan diagram. And just generally, what will happen is we will take the first floor of the building and insert our elevator lobby and elevator tower for the apartment building above. We will have a lobby. We're going to create a garden behind the existing facade on 19th Street. And then right here on 19th Street is where all of the 64 cars, passenger cars, will come and go from the building, and also where the loading will occur for the retail delivery vehicles. And then over here along the Chestnut Street side, we will maintain the commercial space at the ground floor and maintain the entrance on the corner the way that it currently exists. Some nuances of this plan are to improve the entrance into the retail space by adding some greenery. And this was something that was at the request of CCRA in order to create a situation that is not friendly to people hanging out there, which I understand is currently a problem. And then the other thing that we heard as a desire was to have more green on the street edges. And so here you can see we're proposing the more detail rendered trees are where we started, and then we've concluded since then that we could add another one here and another one here. So there'll be more green around the edge of the site. And then just to describe how the parking system works, there is a 2-level below grade automated parking system. So the cars will pull in head on from the street And then once the passengers and the driver are out of the car, the door will close and the machine will take the car and store it until they retrieve it. When it comes back to the street surface, the car will be facing in the right direction to go out onto the street. A similar thing will happen to the trucks, but it'll happen all on this level. Our client has worked with the CVS to agree to use smaller trucks to load this store, and that will allow them to drive into the building, into the back here. And whether they pull straight into the loading area or they need to back into the loading area, we have a turntable. And what will happen is the truck will go onto the turntable and get positioned. And then when it's time for it to leave, it will be spun around in the proper direction, so that when it heads back out to the street, it's facing in the right direction. This should avoid trucks having to hold up traffic on 19th Street, which we all know is currently a problem as traffic backs up, not just on 19th, but also at the cross street at Chestnut.
And I would note, Eric, that problem was exacerbated today because two of the young trees that are in the 19th Street side both appear to have been backed over by a loading truck, and they're both broken and on their side.
Oh, okay, that's too bad.
They're seedlings. The only way that could happen, in my view, is if a large truck ran over them.
Right.
And we're going to try and avoid that at all costs, we know.
So this design it provides more green and should be more friendly to the green. So I'm going to move on. The second floor of the existing building will be all commercial tenant, probably square footage that belongs to the tenant at the ground floor. And then you can see here that there's the courtyard at our garden coming up through that. And then at the next floor, would be the existing roof level. So just at behind the parapet of the existing building is more commercial space. And again, our garden for our entry coming up through there, the apartment elevator and stair core coming up through the middle. And then one of our vehicle lift actually comes up to this level. And that's in order to get to a mechanical floor where we can remove the refuse from the apartment building. And here you can see a rendered elevation of how this building would sit over the existing CVS structure. What we did here is pull the tower to the corner. It's a very urban move, but the benefit of that is that it allows us to be away from the eastern and the southern property lines enough that we can maintain decent percentages of window openings to keep the building friendly to the neighbors. And on the south side, what I'll also point out is that this outline here that you can see is the outline of the approved project that is intended to be built on the parcel south of this. And again, we wanted to stay far enough away from them in order to have a maximized amount of openings in our wall for views, light, and air.
So I think that's a really good overview, Eric. Mm-hmm. For those of you who've joined a little later, this is an abbreviated version of the public meeting that was recorded a few weeks ago and is on our website. We've done a second round because of the need to more thoroughly notify neighbors. I will summarize the benefits that David Rose went into extraordinarily excellent detail at the last meeting. The building, as Eric just said, sits as far away as possible from the new building, what we call Harper 2, so there's light and air that comes through. The CVS will be renovated in place, preserving all the historic elements. It's not going to be torn down, it's going to be saved, and there is a easement agreement between Goodman Properties and the Preservation Alliance, which CCRA is also a party to, ensuring the length and history and preservation of the historic elements. There are green trees, there's street furniture, there's adequate and we think exceptional loading arrangements to reduce the congestion on 19th Street. And generally the comments from the last meeting were that it was a very handsome building reflecting the curvature all the way up. I want to stop there unless, David, I've missed something you need to add, and offer this time for comments from people who are not on the board who have joined. I see Robert Schwartz and I know Gil Feinberg is on our board. There was another Gilbert who seems, I don't know if that was you, Gil, with a different iPad, but the only sort of public member right now is Robert Schwartz. So Robert, are there questions or items you'd like to have further explained that this abbreviation introduction didn't answer for you?
No, I think this is pretty straightforward from what you're showing. It seems some care and thought has been put into the numerous problems in that area, and they seem to be at quick glance being addressed.
We did work very hard. There was a stakeholders group that's at least 3 years old now. We worked very hard with the property owner, Goodman Properties, and with Cecil Baker and his firm to address all these concerns. There is going to be congestion on 19th during construction, but it's minimized to the extent we can do that. But construction in a tight urban space will be a little aggravating, but once it's done, there'll be a beautiful building and much better traffic arrangements.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, there's no avoiding that.
I think that's right. I think we just did. We tried. We had a solution to share the loading with the Harper on Sansom, but despite my best efforts and Goodman Properties' best efforts, a deal with Pearl couldn't be struck. So at least the Harper is going to be built off of Sansom Street. There won't be two constructions going on 19th. Any other questions or comments from anybody else who's on the Zoom? So not hearing any, I wouldn't normally close it because we'd have a lot more people, but because this is like follow-up number 1 to the original meeting, we're going to add this recording to the original lengthy recording, and this will all be available when the CDR meeting occurs. I don't think it's been scheduled. Am I right, Adam? We don't, or Eric, we don't have a CDR scheduled, do we?
We do not have a date yet.
Okay.
And you said that the previous longer, more in-depth one is available?
It is on the website and it was recorded. And you're free to, where is it, Travis, under community development?
Right on the
agreement tab?
homepage. It's right on the homepage.
With its own tab?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you can see the whole thing there. And it was really thoughtful and very, very well attended.
Thank you.
So with all that and hearing nothing else, I'm going to declare this part of the public meeting over. Robert, thanks for your attendance. Gil, nice to see you. And we'll go back to our executive committee agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.